Hello everyone, it's Livia here, aka Story Minded, and I feel like I haven't made a video like this in a million years, but I'm here to make a book recommendation for this beautiful novel, Bridge of Clay by Markus Zusak. Oh my gosh, what can I say about this book? So the only other book that I've ever read of Markus was The Book Thief, which I used to say was my all-time favourite novel. Finally finished Bridge of Clay, which took me way too long to finish because of my first year at uni, and I was just like being swamped with obviously really long reading lists, and I didn't have as much time to dedicate to my personal books. That's my biggest regret with this book. I put it down way too many times and I just wanted to get straight back into it, but I was like, I can't because I've got other stuff to read. But the only other book of Markus I've ever read is The Book Thief, and this Bridge of Clay is now my new all-time favourite novel, so yeah. It's just so my kind of, obviously for this video I don't really want to give like spoilers, but I'll try and give like an overarching view of kind of the essence of the story, and it's just so good. It's just so good. There are no words to describe how good it is. But what I really love about this particular novel is Markus uses the same technique he does in The Book Thief. So when you write stories, when you use the technique of foreshadow, you can either do subtle foreshadows where you kind of tease, or not necessarily tease, but you kind of like give these subtle little foreshadows and clues to a big event that suddenly happens towards the end of a book, and it's like this big dramatic reveal. And obviously there's multiple ways that you can employ this. It's not like there's not only one or two ways you can use foreshadow, but that's kind of like the kind of traditional, like, oh yeah, you give all these subtle little clues and then a big dramatic reveal at the end. No. What Markus does, and what I really, really appreciate, and I don't know how he still is able to have this massive emotional weight on you as a reader, but like he did in The Book Thief, he, through his characters, straight up gives you foreshadows and tells you explicitly, this is what you're going towards, this is not what you're reading for, but this is the journey you're going to go on. These horrific events, these emotional, family-orientated events are going to happen, and I'm letting you know this. They are going to happen. There's no escaping it. This is what you're working towards. Well, even though you're told, you reach that point, and because he builds up these characters so much and he spends so much time taking us into their lives and like showing us everything about them, that even though you know what's going to happen, when it happens, it still really, really hurts and it's still really emotionally impactful. And that's what I love about literature and dramas and TV shows and art in general. It's that emotional impact that it has on you. So kind of the story itself is very simple, but Markus delivers it in such a poetic, lyrical way. It's just such good writing. It's such good prose, and I'm like, I need to learn how to write prose like this. It's so the kind of essence of the story, it's about these 5 brothers, and the eldest brother, Matthew, is our narrator. He is the one who has taken us through the story. Clay is the 4th eldest brother. And then I can't remember if it goes Matthew, Rory, then Henry. I think Henry's the 3rd brother. I might have got those two mixed up because they're always button heads and they're really funny and they always end up fighting. And then the youngest Dunbar boy is Tommy. And it's kind of the story of how... It's the story of Clay. Obviously, judging by the title, Clay is a very important... All the brothers are important, though. That's the thing. All the brothers, I love them all. But it's kind of very focused on Clay. And Matthew's telling this story, and it's kind of the story of their lives dealing with parental bereavement, and almost how Clay ends up trying to reconnect with their estranged father, because obviously of reasons due to parental bereavement and many, many other things. And just to put it simply, it's just one of those, and I guess you could argue that every single piece of art written is about life when you boil it down, but it's just one of these beautiful, relatable stories about life. Like, there's no fantasy, there's no magic realism, it's just very much embedded in life, but it's told in such a beautiful way. And I'm not going to give spoilers, but let me just say, I never knew a peg could be such an emotionally impactful symbol. Clay's peg. Clay's peg is just yeah, it's very very emotional, and I rarely cry at things, because I've mentioned this on my channel before. I've been through parental bereavement when I was younger, and like with my dad, and I just always appreciate it when I find pieces of work and art that are able to speak truth about grief, because that's something I've always found difficult in my own writing to try and explore. Whenever I've tried, I've gotten better as I've tried to like explore it through different mediums such as poetry and stuff like that. But when I was younger and I used to try and sort of confront my feelings a bit by writing prose about it, I would always feel like I was being so fake, and it wasn't doing justice to how I felt. But I mean, they're very hard feelings to describe. So whenever I encounter like a piece of work, like a song, whatever it is, that just describes grief so perfectly, you just have that relatable moment of like, yes, I understand what you're trying to, it just speaks to you and you just understand it, and it's like, yes, this is what I felt, even if our experiences, like what happens in this book is like completely different to what happened to me and my family, but you just have that relatability, and it's like so emotionally cathartic. It's painful, but at the same time it's like really emotionally cathartic, and you kind of get that, yes, I can feel what you're going through or what you went through, even though these are fictional characters. But when you love books, they become very much like real people, and it's just so wonderful and amazing, and I can't recommend this book enough. But also, back to that point of how it's a very simple plot line in the overall grand schemes, it's told in such a beautiful way, and it's had a fort. The fort is gone, but the fort will come back. But just because it's simple, it doesn't mean it doesn't have that emotional weight and gravity to it. And so that's it. So much happens. And even though like this novel is like, it is ginormous. But what Markus does, which I really appreciate as well, is that each chapter is like a perfect few pages, a couple of passages, short sentences. Like, it moves so quickly because it's so easy to read, and you just want to keep on reading and keep finding out. That's why I really regret that I kept putting this book down, because it's such a simple plot in essence, but so much happens. I would come back to the book and I'd be like, wait a minute, what's happened? What's been revealed? Where are we heading? Where are we going? Where are we? And it's just so good. It's just amazing, and I just can't recommend it enough. So if you're like a fan of a modern story that's set in a modern day setting, then just give it a chance. And I mean, I was like subscribed to the sort of not subscribed, but I was on like the Waterstones newsletter list, and usually it's just nice to get like ideas of books that you might buy in the future, but usually I don't bother to read it. When I saw that this book was coming out and who the author was, I was like, I need to get that. Like, this is happening. And I treated myself and I got the pre-ordered version, so it's signed by him, and I was like, I need this. I need this in my life, and it's just been a beautiful book that's taken me way too long to read. But yeah, please, if you've ever read any of Markus's writing, or if you have never read any of Markus's books, I really recommend Bridge of Clay, because it's wonderful, it's beautiful, it made me cry, and it's just a wonderful book. And I'm going to have to end up reading it again to just go through it all again. Anyway, if anyone has watched this, thank you, and I hope to make another video soon. Bye.